All right, let's talk about the New Orleans Saints. This is a team that has obviously been in the news a lot over the past few days, weeks, and months, to be totally honest. But that's all in the past. All eyes are on the future now in New Orleans, and there's one new Saints player in particular that's drawing a lot of praise when you listen to what the coaches are saying, and more importantly, what they're doing with this young player. We'll get to that in just 1 second. But first, I'm Nick, that is Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, the New Orleans Saints, when it came to their first round draft choice, a lot of people wondered if they were going to go quarterback. Shedeur Sanders was obviously still available, but they went out and got the offensive lineman, the offensive tackle from the University of Texas, Kelvin Banks. A really solid pick to a lot of people's opinion. But a lot of people, if you took a step back and said, Banks is a great player, but is offensive line really the biggest need for New Orleans? Well, if you listen to the reports and what the Saints are doing with Banks, and then we'll get into the data, you can see that the Saints coaches believe they got a special player that makes this team much better wherever he plays day one. Let's pull up this report here. This is courtesy of NewOrleansSaints.com. On Saturday, this is a few days ago now, Banks, exclusively a left tackle since his sophomore season in high school, lined up at that position as well as left guard and right tackle as the Saints seek his best fit along the line. Kelvin's going to play a couple positions as we go, just kind of let these guys get settled, Saints coach Kellen Moore said. I think for us, it's just seeing these guys in different body positions. He went across the offensive line Saturday, and we'll narrow our focus as we go through the process. I think for a lot of our guys, every position, we're just trying to expose them to a couple different spots, a couple different environments, and just see how they respond, and then we'll settle them in as we go. All right, that's a lot of coach speak for, hey, listen, we like Kelvin Banks. We got to find a way to get him on the field. We drafted him in the first round because we think he makes our team better. He makes our offensive line better day one. We're going to figure out where he can slide in immediately and help us. And if you look at the data on the Saints offensive line, it's clear he would be a big addition. Let's go into our first graphic here. This is the current starting left tackle, left guard, and right tackle grades. You look at this according to PFF, we've got blue is overall, red is pass blocking, the goldish yellow is run blocking grade, and going from left to right, you got Fuaga, Saladevery, and Pinning their right tackle. You can see their grades across the board. It is not really anything to write home about. You've got Fuaga, who's the best of the bunch, all three above 60. You got the left guard position is in real shambles right there. I wouldn't be surprised if Banks gets some early time at guard just to get him on the field. Pinning by his own right is not doing very well either. So you can tell outside of Fuaga, there's a lot of issues on this offensive line. But now let's go into this next graphic here, which is adding in Banks's college numbers. Now, big caveat there, it is college, but you can see right away, this is a massive leap in terms of overall performance with Banks all the way on the far right there. Look at his overall grade, his pass blocking grade, and his run blocking grade compared to the other three guys. Even if Banks takes a 10 to 15% hit transferring from Texas. Now, again, Texas, SEC, big time football. They were a playoff team. He went up against a lot of NFL pass rushers. So there's a chance he doesn't degrade at all. There's a chance he maintains this. But let's just say, for sake of argument, he dips about 10 to 15%. He's still significantly better above all three of those guys at each of those three positions. What does that mean? It means that Banks will be a day one starter for the New Orleans Saints. I think it's a guarantee. Right now, the coaching staff for the Saints, Kellen Moore and his crew, recognize that, correctly so, and they're trying to find the best position to put him on the field right away because he's that good of a player. They saw that during the evaluation process, and now that they brought him in, they see him in the facility, they see him in the weight room, now they see him on the practice field, they're like, okay, he is who we thought he is. He's exactly the kind of prospect that we evaluated. He's going to come in and be a day one player for us. Now we're going to do whatever we can to find him a spot on the field, whether it's left tackle, left guard, right tackle. We'll find a way to make it work because he's a great player. We got to get him on the field. It's clear the Saints coaching staff sees that. In my opinion, that's the right approach to take. All right, Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. But first, Saints fans, in the comment section below, of all of the draft picks and undrafted free agent signings the Saints made, which one is your favorite, right? Maybe not necessarily the best value or the biggest name, but your personal favorite, right? Was it a guy you watched in college or just a guy you think would be a really good addition for New Orleans? Give us your favorite New Orleans in the comment section below. But Miles, over to you now. What are your thoughts on the New Orleans Saints and Kelvin Banks?
Yeah, Nick, I think really interesting idea here for the Saints as far as they just got to get this guy on the field. This is a guy in Banks who he's done a lot of great things, as you alluded to. You see the massive leap in statistics he brings to this team. And I agree with you as far as talking about him coming from Texas, what he's able to do. This is a guy who, let's name the teams that he's played against this year: Michigan, Oklahoma, Georgia, Florida, Kentucky, Arkansas, who had a great pass rusher there, Landon Jackson, Clemson. I think I said Texas A&M, Ohio State, and he did really well against all of them. 75 plus PFF grades on all of those games, if not even higher. He's done really, really well against the best competition in all of college football. So I think what you're saying here is, yeah, maybe he degrades a little bit, but honestly, it's not that surprising if he comes in and is able to play at a really, really high level again. So I think that's something to think about here. But Banks, what they're doing in New Orleans, I think this just goes to show. I think they're saying, hey, this is a guy, let's switch people around, let's see. And I think they've come to this conclusion that they want to see where everybody fits in best. They're not just switching Banks, they're switching around a lot of different players and just seeing where they fit best. Yes, Banks been at left tackle because traditionally everyone thinks the best player is the left tackle on the offensive line. That's what all the big bucks go to. That's what people are getting paid all of the high amount of dollars. When you're the top player on the team as far as the offensive line goes, you're at left tackle. But that might not necessarily be where you're the best asset to the team as. Banks could be a guy who he's played at left tackle. Basically, they said since been in high school, he could be a really great center. He could be a really great guard. He could be a really great right tackle. They didn't try him at center, but the point stands is this is a guy you got to see where he fits in best, especially when you have such a great offensive line already. And there's a lot of good, solid pieces here. Move him around, see where he fits in best, see where everybody slots in around him best, and let's go there for it. Because if we're being honest, the Saints, they've got to get offensive line nailed down because we don't know who's going to be at the quarterback position. Could be a lot of young guys back there, maybe an older veteran. Nonetheless, they got to protect whoever's ever back there at the quarterback position. And by trying Banks out and getting the best offensive line possible, they give this offense the best possible way to win games going forward.
Yeah, it's one of those things. If you look at anytime you have a young quarterback, it's sort of a reverse process. Everyone seems to think you need the star quarterback and then you build around them. But really, the successful teams, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs, and really, if you throw the 49ers in this mix too, the more successful teams consistently year in and year out in the NFL had a great infrastructure around a young quarterback and then plugged the young quarterback in, right? Of course, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts at Philadelphia, Brock Purdy with the San Francisco 49ers, right? Those teams already had great offensive lines and great infrastructures ready, set in place, determined. They inserted their young quarterback, who was very talented guy, and magic happened. If you look at some situations where the opposite occurred, let's look at the Bears with Caleb Williams, the Texans with CJ Stroud. You know, the Texans have won a few games, they made the playoffs a few times, but you talk to Houston fans today and they're like, man, we wasted a couple of years of Stroud on a rookie deal because we didn't have the O-line, we didn't have the infrastructure in place, and now we're scrambling, we're overplaying, and we're hoping we can make a run out of it because we're on a clock right now. You talk to Bears fans about Caleb Williams, they say, listen, we wasted his rookie year. Hopefully we didn't ruin his confidence. The New Orleans Saints, Kellen Moore, are taking a very smart approach here with Kelvin Banks. And again, I think this is why they drafted him. This isn't anything new. This is because they liked him and were impressed with him throughout the entire process. I think they envisioned this the entire way because Kellen Moore came from Philadelphia. He saw how this worked out when he saw what happened with Jalen Hurts and that Philadelphia Eagles offensive line, leading that team as an offensive coordinator to Super Bowl championship last season. He knows this is an effective model for winning football games and winning championships. Now he's putting it in place. But it only works if you have an offensive lineman like Banks, who is as talented, as mentally strong, and mentally capable to slide to all these other different positions to put your team in the best position to be successful. Now, I want to go ahead and address something that I think will rear its ugly head for some Saints fans out there. Like, listen, we drafted this guy in the top 10. Are we really going to put him at right tackle? Are we really going to put him at guard, right? If you put all this draft capital and you move a guy to an interior offensive line position so early, is that a waste? Is that an indication that this guy might be a bust? That's not the case at all. In fact, let's pull up this table here. We got this generated courtesy of Perplexity AI. They don't sponsor us or anything, just love using them. And it just listed some Pro Bowl offensive linemen, Pro Bowl left tackle specifically, that started their careers at other positions. You can see Jason Peters started at tight end, converted to left tackle, multiple Pro Bowls. You look at Tristan Wirfs, he was a right tackler, then moved to left tackle, doing a great job for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tyron Smith, he's going to Hall of Fame. He started as a right tackle early in his career, switched to left tackle, 8 Pro Bowlers there. And Bruce Matthews, again, we're going back to like the 80s and 90s here. He played a bunch of positions. He moved to left tackle again later in his career, was very effective, very good, right? Again, you do not have to start at left tackle if you're going to become an all pro, if you're going to be a Pro Bowl, even a Hall of Fame guy. These four guys illustrated here, you can get there eventually and still provide that value protecting the quarterback's blind side. In the meantime, you have a great player, a great athlete, a talented prospect in Banks getting on the field, getting valuable experience, and most importantly, making your team better and your infrastructure stronger for whoever starts behind center.